If something happened to you tomorrow, car accident, sudden illness, whatever, there's a good chance your family wouldn't get your money right away. In fact, a big chunk of it could disappear. Not because you were irresponsible, not because you didn't save or invest, but because of one simple mistake that most regular working families don't even know they're making. I've seen it happen right here in the Triad. Hardworking logistics guys from Greensboro, factory families in Winston-Salem, teachers and nurses in Kernersville. People who finally got out of debt, started investing in their 30s, and thought they were doing everything right. Today I'm going to break it down for you. The exact mistake that quietly destroys inheritances. How much it actually costs families in North Carolina, with real numbers. And the straightforward way to make sure it never happens to your wife, your kids, or your legacy. This is Assets Over Excuses. Let's get into it. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not personalized financial or legal advice. Laws can change, and every family situation is different. Always talk to a qualified estate planning attorney or financial professional who knows your full picture before making any decisions. Let me tell you about a situation I heard about last year that still bothers me. A family right here in the Triad. Let's call them the Martins for privacy. Dad was 58, worked 28 years in logistics out of Greensboro. Mom stayed home when the kids were little, then went back part-time. They had a modest house in a decent neighborhood, mostly paid off. Some 401k money, a couple savings accounts, and 2 cars. On paper, they looked solid. They even had a basic will drawn up years ago at one of those cheap online services. They figured they were covered. Then Dad had a heart attack and passed unexpectedly. What happened next was a nightmare. The house, the bank accounts, the retirement funds that weren't set up with proper beneficiaries, everything had to go through probate in North Carolina. The family couldn't touch most of the assets for months. Bills kept coming. The kids missed school payments. Mom was grieving and suddenly had to deal with lawyers, court filings, and endless paperwork. Family arguments started because everyone was stressed and money was frozen. By the time it was all said and done, the family lost tens of thousands in fees, delays, and missed opportunities. And the worst part? It was completely preventable. This isn't some rare horror story. This plays out every single week in Forsyth, Guilford, and surrounding counties. Regular middle-class families who thought, a will is enough, get blindsided. Here's the hard truth most people in their 30s, 40s, and even 50s don't understand. Having a will does not avoid probate. In fact, a will guarantees that your estate will go through probate. Probate is the court-supervised process in North Carolina where a judge and the clerk of superior court oversee the settling of your estate after you die. It's public, it's slow, and it's expensive. What actually happens during probate in North Carolina? All your assets that don't have proper beneficiary designations or aren't in a trust get frozen. Notices have to be published in the newspaper so creditors can come forward. An inventory of everything you own gets filed with the court. And yes, it's public record. Anyone can look it up. The process usually takes 9 to 18 months on average for a typical estate. Contested or complicated ones? 2 years or more. During that entire time, your family often can't sell the house, access accounts easily, or make quick financial decisions. Think about that. Your spouse is grieving, maybe trying to pay the mortgage or keep the lights on, and the court is telling them, wait. Let's talk cold, hard numbers for North Carolina in 2026. These aren't made-up scary figures. They come from how the system actually works here. North Carolina charges a probate fee of about 0.4% of the personal property in the estate, capped at $6,000. But that's just the court filing piece. The real damage comes from attorney fees, executor commissions, up to 5% allowed by law, publication costs, appraisals, bonds if required, and all the administrative headaches. Realistic examples for typical triad families. On a $300,000 estate, common for many middle-class families with a paid-off or mostly paid-off home plus retirement savings, total probate costs often run $10,000 to $20,000 or more. On a $500,000 estate, you're easily looking at $20,000 to $40,000 plus when you add everything up. On a $1 million estate, it can exceed $50,000 to $70,000 in combined fees, delays, and lost value. And remember, that $200,000 number in the title? It doesn't always come from direct fees alone. It comes from the house sitting unsold for a year while the market shifts or maintenance piles up, investment accounts that can't be rebalanced or withdrawn strategically, lost income or forced sales at bad times, emotional decisions made under stress that cost even more. And here's the part nobody tells you. Most of this doesn't happen because people are careless. It happens because they think they did everything right. That money doesn't disappear. It gets transferred from your family to the system. You spent decades grinding, paying off debt, finally starting to invest in your 30s like we talked about in the last video, only for a big chunk of it to get eaten up because of one planning gap. Here's what really makes me angry about this. These aren't rich families with complicated offshore accounts. These are regular triad working families who worked 20 to 35 years in logistics, manufacturing, healthcare, or education. Finally got out of credit card and car payment hell. Started putting money into index funds or 401ks. Just wanted to leave their kids and spouse something better than they had. And then one preventable mistake wipes out a huge piece of that legacy. The kids who were supposed to get help with college or a down payment on their first house, they get less. The surviving spouse who was counting on that equity for retirement, they struggle longer. The family unity that should have been strengthened by an inheritance, it sometimes fractures instead. So why do so many smart, responsible people in their 30s and 40s still fall into this trap? I hear the same three excuses all the time. 1. I'll deal with it later. Life is busy. Kids, work shifts, soccer practice, trying to save more each month. Estate planning feels like something for old people, but tomorrow isn't promised. 2. We don't have enough assets yet. Wrong. Even if your estate is only $250,000 to $400,000 right now, probate still hits hard. And the earlier you set this up, the cheaper and easier it is. Plus, as you keep building wealth, like we talked about starting in your 30s, the problem only gets bigger. 3. I don't understand it, so I'll ignore it. This is the most dangerous one. People feel overwhelmed, so they do nothing. But understanding the basics, like you're doing right now by watching this, is the first step to taking control. I'm not here to sell you anything complicated. Here's a straightforward path that works for regular families in North Carolina. Step 1. Get clear on what you actually own. List your major assets: house, bank accounts, retirement accounts, vehicles, life insurance, etc. Note which ones already have beneficiary designations. Those often bypass probate automatically. Step 2. Consider a revocable living trust. This is one of the most powerful tools for middle-class families in North Carolina. When done right and properly funded, it lets your assets pass directly to your loved ones without going through the probate court process. Benefits in North Carolina? Avoids or dramatically reduces probate delays and many costs. Keeps your affairs private, unlike a will which becomes public record. Provides instructions for if you become incapacitated. No need for a costly court guardianship, sometimes called living probate. Gives you full control while you're alive. You can change or revoke it anytime. Step 3. Fund the trust properly. This is where most people mess up. Creating the trust document is only half the job. You have to actually transfer assets into it. For your house, Prepare and record a new deed naming the trust as owner, usually done with an attorney. For bank and brokerage accounts, retitle them in the name of the trust. Retirement accounts and life insurance usually stay outside, but get updated beneficiary designations, naming the trust or individuals. A trust that isn't funded is just expensive paperwork sitting in a drawer. Don't let that happen. Step 4. Pair it with supporting documents. A pour-over will catches anything you forgot to put in the trust. Durable power of attorney for finances. Healthcare power of attorney and living will. You don't have to do everything perfectly on day one. Start with the biggest assets, especially the house if you own one. A revocable living trust that isn't funded is just fancy paperwork. But one that is funded? That's real protection for your family. Remember the last video where we talked about starting to invest in your 30s and how the math still works even if you feel behind? That's powerful. You're finally building something real. But building wealth without protecting it is like filling a bucket with holes in the bottom. You grind to get out of debt, automate contributions to low-cost index funds, increase what you save each year, only to let the probate system take a big bite later. Protect what you're building. Your 30s and 40s are the perfect time to set this up while it's still simple and affordable. This isn't about living in fear of dying. It's about taking control while you're here so your family doesn't have to suffer later. You've already proven you can do hard things with money, killing debt, starting to invest, choosing assets over excuses. Now take the next step and protect what you're building. If this video finally made the probate risk click for you, here's what I want you to do right now. 1. Hit the like button if you want more straightforward estate planning content for families. 2. Share this video with one person in your life, maybe a sibling, coworker, or friend in their 30s or 40s who needs to hear this. 3. Subscribe and turn on notifications, because next I'm dropping the 5 biggest estate planning mistakes triad families make and the fixes that save everything. And if you think this is bad, wait until you see the 5 estate planning mistakes that destroy even more wealth. And right now in the comments, drop one word. Protect if you're ready to stop leaving your family exposed. I read every single comment. You've come this far. Don't build wealth just for the system to take a piece of it later. Build it, protect it, pass it on. This is assets over excuses. I'll see you in the next one.